Welcome to the Snowrunner logging hack. Now this isn't an actual hack, it's just a little way of working around the system. So if you have had a go at logging, you'll realise that you have to cart logs from one place to another, but they'll only let you do 3 at a time. And this only counts as 1 load, which can get a little bit tedious. So to get round it, what you want, and it does take a little bit more equipment and a little bit more practice with the logging loader crane, but it can be worth it in the long run if you've got a long trip. Here I've got my truck with the sideboard semi-trailer attached, and that's basically just going to cart the logs for me, but it's going to cart them loose. So we do not pack them, we just leave them loose, and that's why you want the semi-trailer, because it actually holds them in. I have tried to do this with the logging trailers, but they tend to fall out, which can waste a lot of time. And so you're going to also need a truck that can support both the log loader crane and the log carrier front, as well as obviously you're going to need the trailer attachment. So this is for long logs, obviously. So you want to manually load using your log loader crane, and I'm using the P12, which is a heavy truck, but because of the long chassis length, I can get both the crane and the front attachment on. So it saves me needing a 3rd truck, which is, I guess, the other option, but we're trying to save time here and trips. Once you've got your trucks set up next to each other, you can put your logs into the loading platform. And my advice when you're using the log loader crane, because it does take a bit of getting used to, is to try and pick up as close to the middle as you can. As you can see, even just a little bit off, the logs get on the piss a little bit, so it does make it a lot harder to place them where you want and keep control of them. You can pick up 2 at once. I've tried 3, but I have not been successful in keeping them all in the grab. Generally, if you can do 2, do it, but even that can get fiddly and a bit of a pain in the ass, so sometimes just 1's the way to go. And then you basically just stack up your semi-trailer with as many logs as you can get in without them falling out the sides. In this case, I've found I can get about 12 logs loosely packed into the semi before they start rolling off around the corners. Now 12 logs equals 4 loads, so it's not bad. You just got to be a little bit finicky and make sure you've stacked them as well as possible so that you can get them all in there. And it definitely does take a little bit of practice to get the hang of this log loading crane, but I promise you it does get easier. Just got to stick with it. Which is another reason I'd say don't bother trying to cart it on a trailer that won't hold the logs in, because although it gives you a bit of practice picking up logs off the side of the road, you spend way too long doing it if you're constantly losing logs as you're trying to cart them. So that kind of defeats the time-saving purpose of this whole exercise. Wherever your semi-trailer goes, obviously you're going to have to take your log loading crane and your attachments to be able to unload at the other end. So when it does come to unloading time, you'll have to unload 3 at a time, pack them onto your long load trailer, and then deliver the product. So although it is still a 1 at a time in terms of delivery at the other end, at least you can have a quick loading procedure. If you've got your semi-trailer right there, you can quickly put another load straight onto your trailer, pack it, and then offload it. And it can be done exactly the same for the medium logs. The only difference is obviously instead of those long log attachments, you're going to need medium log frame. You can just go with the trailer if you want. There's no need to actually take the front half as well. So that only works for the medium logs, because you do need the front attachment for the long logs. You don't actually have to have obviously this trailer in the loading point if you don't want to. You can have the vehicle that has the attachments for the logs at the other end, if that works easier, because you only need those log specific trailers to pack and therefore unload. It will not recognize these loose logs as a load. I cannot just take the semi-trailer there with 4 loads worth of logs and try and unpack them at the delivery point. It won't recognize them. So you do have to pack them back onto a logging trailer to get them recognized. One thing I found out the hard way was that not all logging stations have both long and medium logs, which is a bit of a bummer really. So you do want to check that out before you work out your logistics of what you're taking where. Depending on if you need medium or long logs, you have to work out what log station is the most efficient or the easiest to get to and from. Unfortunately, not all log stations provide both type of logs. In this instance, I'm picking up from Drummond Island, Smithville Dam and Island Lake only have medium logs, and I think the only other long logs are at Black River. So you definitely want to work out what's going where before you start. So yeah, have a crack at this and good luck, and improve your skills with operating a log loader crane.